talk to me about how you see the world moving away from dairy. Let me just give a couple quick statistics. According to Switch for Good and the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, 65% of all Americans are lactose intolerant, much higher in African American communities and Asian communities. There's tremendous waste and suffering of animals, of course, but also waste and damage to the land that has, this monocrop way of farming, be it animals or the corn or the soy or the wheat that we then give to animals, very labor intensive on the land itself and basically slowly killing it away. So we have lots of reasons to move away from dairy. Do you see us doing that?
Look, what I think is achievable is, in the short term at least, is we should stop the expansion of dairy. We stop cutting down forests and expanding dairy. If we could achieve, in Milkadamia, that's one of our goals. We say, what can we realistically be part of that is meaningful to us and beyond us? And if we could stop the expansion of dairy, if we could at least do that, that's the beginning of the end for them, Mm-hmm. But it really isn't us. What gives me a great deal of courage and a great deal of hope is that people spontaneously all around the globe are walking away from dairy for their own reasons, with their own set of values are getting them to spontaneously walk away. And
is it primarily health? Lactose intolerance?
No, I don't believe so. I think
really?
Initially, definitely. I think that was the reason initially. Lactose intolerance. I think people conclude that something that came from a plant is probably better for them than something that came from an animal. So there's that health aspect definitely drives a lot. There's just the interest in variety is the spice of life.
Yes. Sorry.
A statistic that blows me away is that there are 20,000 species of edible plants on the planet.
Yum.
90% of our diet is made up with just 20.
Yeah.
And so there's this massive culinary adventure out there in front of us that we can all get involved in. And ever while we just have, meat and 2 veg and drink milk, it's the tiniest amount of what's possible and what's interesting and exciting, So getting out and getting more and more involved in plant-based is one of the things that is driving it. But I think also once you start doing that and you start being interested in the alternatives, I think looking after the planet, what is good for our soils and our planet, what's good for the world that we love, starts to count a lot. And once you start accepting that we're part of what's here, it's not all about us, we are part, a bit of humility comes in, then our role in how we treat the other creatures that live on this planet becomes a factor too. And I think, the big catchphrase is animal welfare. Well, for sure. But when you suddenly realize that you are, with our finances, we have been supporting an industry that is just a really cruel... This is motherhood that they are. It's all based on motherhood. So this mother cow produces a calf because she's been forcibly impregnated.
It's based on breaking motherhood.
That's right, yeah. Then the calf is taken away. If you see the cows bawling and the calves bawling, you know that they miss each other for at least a period. Either we are callous enough to say we could care less, we're going to have milk anyway, or we say, you know what, at this point in Earth's history, we're better than that. And also at this point in Earth's history, can we afford to treat anything in that manner any longer? Can we afford to continue to do that? And I think people stepping away says, how good is that? People are saying we are better than that. And if that's a first step, what else can we do to fix the planet? Let's keep going. This is just a first step.
I think once you start to have a cognitive shift, then you keep shifting.
Oh, yeah.
And so I do think it starts with one's health. It's the thing that makes you say, gosh, I'm going to take the effort to kind of research another option because this isn't really working for me. And once you're willing to do that and you open your window, you realize, oh, there's more at play here. And once you get that shift, or else I get that bug, you kind of, once you know, you can't pretend you don't know. Once you open up your mind to that, you can't pretend that it's not out there. And when you know it, then you choose to do better. Because when you know better, you do better, in theory.